right, hey y'all. Happy Friday when you guys are seeing this. It's a Thursday night here. How you doing, Asher?
I'm all right. There's football on tonight. It's
Yeah, no,
completely meaningless football without starting quarterbacks, but
yep. No Trevor. We have no Trevor Lawrence. No Derek Carr. Devontae Adams, is he playing? Do you know? Do you know by any chance?
I'm not sure. The only player I knew wasn't playing was Carr.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but nothing exciting. I mean, I was gonna tune into the first quarter. I mean, I don't even know what time kickoff was, to be honest. I think it's at 8.
yeah, I believe so.
Um, so I might tune into that once we're done recording here, but I don't know. I mean, I might just watch the first quarter, and then I'm probably gonna switch to the Phillies.
Hmm.
A lot of exciting stuff going on over there. So, but before we get into anything we want to today, I want to have a word from our sponsor, College Move In. A lot of you guys, if you guys are college students, are getting ready to like move into your dorms or move into your apartments. Um, our friends over at thesportsdisplays.com are partnering with us. These sports displays, they sell these nice little. It's like a jersey mount. Really, looks really really nice. If you're a jersey collector, such as I, it's something that's going to be really useful. It could really decorate your dorm up a little bit. Even if you're in high school, it could really add a little spaz to your a little jazz to your room. Very nice. They're very affordable, and with us, if we're offering a promo code, if you use promo code PICSWAP at sportsdisplays.com, you can get 10% off your order and free shipping. That being said, I say this like every single time, but we have quite a little bit to go into. Sixers off season, so relatively dry. But there are recent news stories since we last spoke about the Sixers a few weeks back. First off, um, probably the biggest headline is the Harden contract. Um, I believe he signed for 2 years, 67 million or something. The second year is a player option.
Right.
Actually, what are your thoughts on that? I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah. So I love that move for Harden. I love that move for us. I think just it just proves he wants to win. He wants to win. Could have had, I believe it was 48 million this year. He's only taken 33
Mhm.
both years. Um, I mean, the amount of leverage he had coming off of that trade, like he could have bullied the Sixers front office into probably giving him 3 4 years at like over 40 million. So he's really taking a sacrifice. He wants to see us win. I love that.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree. And you know, me, when we first got Harden, I mean, I didn't really think too much about it because I was caught up in the fact that we just got James friggin' Harden. But
Right.
after seeing him play after half a season, I was like, well, I don't know if we should, if we accept this player option, do we sign him for 4 or 5 more years and we have like a almost 40-year-old Harden, we're paying him nearly $50 million, maybe a little bit over. I didn't look at the numbers exactly, but I knew it was going to be quite a chunk of cash for an aging Harden who already seems to be on a decline. Um, but after this, my respect for Harden, I didn't really lose much for him to begin with, but it's been completely restored. He obviously has shifted from, early on in his career. We saw a lot of, me being all about me, wanting the money, always wanting the ball, everything. And now he's kind of matured into this team first player. And what I'm thinking, I don't know if you agree with me, Asher, I'm hoping you do, but I think that this contract is kind of foreshadowing for what we were going to see, for what we're going to see this upcoming season. Like talking about the end of last year, we saw him trying to drive into the basket too much, um, you know, and then he wouldn't even finish entirely. He would just flop and hoping to get a foul. I feel like he was less of a selfish player, but he was still at the same time was a little more selfish than he should have been because there were guys wide open on the corners and whatnot, and he would just like drive in, do his thing. And I'm wondering if this contract, his maturity here is going to translate to his play on the court.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to think that. I mean, regardless of how much he took this season, I would have. I like Harden a lot. I've made that clear. I
Mhm.
would have felt good about his role on the team going forward. But I think I mean, a guy that was probably the best player in the world, 3, 4 years ago, taking that pay cut, just trying to get this team to the next level, taking that backseat to Joel. That's a locker room boost too. Just,
Oh yeah,
I think the whole team's gonna rally around that.
yeah. I think having somebody like James Harden come in and have faith in the team,
Mhm.
and really believe that the front office, let alone the team, can really perform and go out and bring a party to Broad Street. Uh, I think you're absolutely correct. I think that definitely boosts team morale, and it definitely gives the team a little bit more motivation to go out and play their asses off next year.
Mhm.
Um, but in terms of actual Sixers, that's just about it, except for one more thing. Uh, the Sixers recently announced that in 2031, they are going to be opening up a new arena in Center City. Now, this new arena is going to be where the Fashion District is on 10th and Market. They will. Their whole thinking is that they want their own building. They want to be privately owned rather than leasing from Wells Fargo and having to uh, share an arena for like with the Philadelphia Flyers. Which I mean I don't blame them, but if I'm being honest, I don't really like it. What about you?
Uh, you know, I haven't gotten, I haven't looked too much into the logistics of it. I would assume that the people who proposed this plan have done a little bit of like civil engineering, figuring out how the parking is going to work, how the traffic's going to work. Because I mean, that's regardless, without a huge sports arena in there, that's a pretty miserable place to be driving in traffic right around Center City. So, I mean, if they have that figured out, I love the idea. If not, I, I mean, it's really nice where all the arenas are right now, just because it's separated from the hustle and bustle of the city.
Hmm.
There's a lot of parking.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I've spoken out on Facebook. I'm in Sixers groups. I've spoken out about it. Um, I'm mostly not a fan of it, but I definitely see the other side of it. Um, some of my issues could be worked out on Market Street. For instance, at the Fashion District, they have parking galore over there. They have parking garages. They have several parking lots, just like a block down. Parking, they might have to expand it a little bit, but that really shouldn't be an issue. Traffic wise, that's something I still have an issue with. I think where the arena is now is super convenient because I feel like a lot of people are commuting from Jersey or Upper Pennsylvania, Delco, wherever you go, you just shoot down 95 and it's right there.
Mhm.
It's really convenient, especially leaving too. I mean, you catch a little bit of traffic on like Citizens Bank Way, all those streets around Sports Complex. But once you're out of there, I mean, especially with the Sixers, I remember going to a few games and literally where I parked was right in front of the side of the building that says Wells Fargo Center. Like it has the banners of all the of the Flyers and Sixers, and I think it
Yeah,
has like the Soul or I don't know. That has all the team banners, but like right there, I parked in the back of the parking lot. Again, I had plenty of space, so it wasn't really an issue. But I just pulled right at the back gates, hooked a right, went around, and then I was on 95 within 5-10 minutes.
yeah,
As opposed to having it down in Center City, I mean, sure, you're off the expressway there, but you're driving through Center City. I feel like those roads down by the about down where the current location is, I feel like the roads are a little bit more wide open. There's a lot more room. There's nobody parallel parking on the sides, and they also have the luxury of actually closing streets to help the traffic to facilitate it a little bit. I don't feel like we'll have that luxury in Center City because it's just such a condensed area, and there's so many people doing their daily thing.
yeah. That's a good point.
But overall, I mean, I see both sides. Some people like the idea of it, just because there's if you've ever been down there, there's like a whole bunch of nothing going on. The World Cup is coming to Philadelphia in 2026, and I feel like this move. I mean, it makes sense, but it doesn't at the same time because it's going to happen after the fact. But I heard people trying to make the point that they were trying to make Philadelphia more of a touristy
Mhm.
attraction. If you get on down Center City, I mean, you have City Hall, all like the artifacts and everything, but there's no bars or anything, nothing. And the same, I mean, no, not bars. That was the wrong wording. There's like just really not much action going on down there, as opposed to the sports complex. Um, you know, obviously the sports there, the Xfinity Live is right there.
Right.
You have some things to do. Um, but I mean, I honestly lost my train of thought. But the point I was trying to get to is that I see both sides, and I see that's how some people like it being down in Center City. Adding that attraction, adding a little more action down there. But I also am kind of on the side of having it in South Philly. Um,
And I mean, either way, it doesn't happen for another 10 years. So it's really not something we have to worry about at the moment.
mhm,
That's why I think as we get closer, there's going to be more things
mhm.
like probably the concerns that we have about it will be resolved. We haven't seen the full plan yet.
Yeah, I mean, this just got released a couple weeks back, and
Yeah.
I think they were laying down foundation in 2026 or 2027.
Right.
Might have been 2029. I honestly don't remember. But we're still talking several years.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll both be 2 years into adulthood by then. 4 years actually. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a long
3 or
way.
4 years. Yeah.
Sure.
So we got a while to go before that all happens. So we have several years to debate it. Whatever. I think it's pretty set in stone. But one more thing I just want to say is I have to make fun of the Sixers for their naming for it. They're calling it the 76th place.
Right.
I think they could have done a lot better. Like
Mhm.
76th place, it's not something that rolls off the tongue. Like at
That's
least do like 76ers place, or I think 76ers Arena would have been fine. Like even though that's like the most boring name ever, I just feel like 76th place doesn't roll off the tongue. It doesn't sound good.
No, it's not. It's not cool. It does sound pretty boring.
Yeah, I mean, I would have gone with something around like freedom, or you know, something around like Declaration of Independence, Independence Arena, something like that that pertains to, like, you could just say 70 76, but the derivation of the name is because Philadelphia founded the country in 1776. So I feel like if you did something around those lines, I think it would
Mm.
have been much better. But I think they just kind of did 76th place and just like whatever.
I mean, I think I don't think that name's gonna stick personally. I think by the time that arena gets rolled out, it's gonna be branded by
Yeah,
somebody's gonna buy it. We're gonna have
yeah,
Crypto.com Arena 2 or something like
yeah,
that.
something like that. So
Arena.
that's about it. Actually, I believe you had one more piece of news to go into. We talked about it a little bit ago, but
Yeah. So
news that
the
came
NBA has been investigating the Sixers uh, in regards to tampering. I believe I was reading about it. The main concern was that Harden took that pay cut with the expectation that we would use it to sign PJ Tucker. I mean, to me, the whole thing is just kind of ridiculous.
hmm
I mean, clearly he could have been making $15 million more. Clearly, he took a pay cut for us to sign somebody that would help the team win. What does it matter whether it was PJ Tucker? It could have been hoping LeBron signed for 15 million. I don't know. Like, I don't, he's not. He doesn't make the moves. He's not the GM.
right. I mean, if we were Daryl Moore, I mean, I'm on board with you with that. I don't think anything's gonna come from it because it's James Harden. I mean, he's a player. He didn't go out of his way to recruit anybody.
Right.
Even then, like Joel Embiid during free agency or even prior, I mean, he said he liked PJ Tucker, but he wasn't like out there texting him and like trying to lure him in, like
Mhm.
actual tampering. Like that'd be a legitimate case, but I feel like it's all skepticism. You're being skeptical about, oh well, uh maybe James Harden did this because they want to do this. Like that's all like, oh, maybe. Like you have no proof.
Yeah.
You have no idea why James Harden did it. You're just saying, oh, this happened and this happened. So putting them together, tampering. Like
Right.
doesn't make sense to me.
And
Doesn't
it's
make any sense.
also Doc came out and said that he and Daryl Morey had no idea what Harden was going to do with that player option until like it was a couple hours before the deadline when he told them, "All right, I'm not accepting the player option." So for all they knew, he was going to take that $48 million, and they're going to be strapped for cash.
hmm
So I mean, he did it most likely with the expectation that we were going to sign PJ Tucker, but he didn't know.
Right. Exactly. So that wraps up pretty much all the Sixers news. It's off season, kind of dry. Kind of just waiting for training camp to begin, and we still got a couple more months before the season begins. So kind of tread along here. But in the meantime, I was listening to 94 WIP, the morning show, and there were some pretty intriguing questions asked. And we're gonna go to a deep dive in the past. Asher, what's your favorite Sixers like memory of like being a fan? Like what are some specific moments that will always stay with you? You could say good or bad. Like it doesn't, you know.
I mean, I think we're in an interesting time as Sixers fans, just because we grew up. I became a fan like right as the process was beginning.
Mm-hmm,
Now we've seen terrible, like probably some of the worst NBA teams ever rolled out, 10 and
mm-hmm,
70 Sixers. We've
mm-hmm,
also seen the number one seed in the East.
mm-hmm,
We've seen years of contention. We've never seen this team get past the second round.
mm-hmm,
So a lot of the things that come to my mind when I think of best memories are kind of flashes of promise that never necessarily got fulfilled. So one thing that I think of was us trading for that first pick in 2017 for Markel Fultz.
mm-hmm,
And at that point, we had Simmons, who was like 21. We had Embiid, who was like 23 years old. And
mm-hmm.
Fultz was like 19. They all seemed like they were going to be superstars. I mean, it felt like the process was over. It felt like we had put together a team that was destined to be champions at that point. I remember being super hyped for that trade.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching that draft, and I remember watching. There were Sixers fans galore there. Uh, you know, I mean, Philadelphia loyal always seems to pop out everywhere, but
Mhm.
I remember watching that draft, and you had a couple of Philly guys. They had beers in their hand, and they're like, "Yeah, we got Markel." I remember watching that. It was definitely a super super exciting time. I scrolled through Instagram. All I could see. I followed a bunch of Sixers pages. All I could see was Markel Fultz like jersey
Mhm.
jersey edits or whatever you want to call them, and it was a very very exciting time. And unfortunately, as we know now, it didn't really play out as we wanted to. But I'm definitely on board with you there. But it's not necessarily top of my list. For me, some of my favorite moments were like I'm talking like 2016, 2015, like right before like the Sixers. It was right in that period before, like in between the Sixers being absolutely awful to kind of climbing their way out of that hole and coming into um, coming into contenders. So I'm talking like when Joel Embiid came back from his injuries.
Mhm.
He had his rookie year. I believe it was during his rookie year. The T.J. McConnell game winner was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
T.J. McConnell and Robert Covington, those two game winners. I think that season we won like 28 games. It was towards like the end of the season or something like that, and it gave me like similar to you. It's like glimpses of promise of like, all right, like we can actually be a respectable team in the league. And I remember watching that game. TJ McConnell making that game winner. It was an insane shot too. It was like he did a
Baseline fade,
crazy move.
right?
What?
It was like a baseline fade.
Yeah,
I want to say it was over Mello.
yeah, it was a baseline fade. I mean, TJ McConnell, he's not the biggest of players too.
Uh,
Uh, so I mean, it was just crazy to see. I mean, when you saw it being launched up, I mean, at first glance, it was like, oh, no shot that's going in. And sure, it just kind of dinkles. It just goes right in. And I'm like, and I just started jumping up and down. I mean, I was watching it run in my room. I was jumping up and down, running around. My mom was downstairs. She yelled at me. She's like, what the hell's going on? But that's definitely at the top of my list as like one of my favorite Sixers moments. Do you have any others that are in mind, Ash?
well, since you said good or bad moments, I feel like
Mm,
we can't go without mentioning the Kawhi Leonard four bounce shot. Uh, as much as that is a painful memory, I just remember like I really wasn't angry after that shot because I felt like we were a really good team that year. We were probably if that shot doesn't go in, we probably go to overtime. We had the momentum. We probably win in overtime and beat. I think it was the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals that year,
Yep.
and then go to the finals. And who knows what we do there? Maybe KD had that freak injury in the finals, so maybe we don't have a shot. But that was probably the best team that we've seen.
Oh, yep.
Kawhi was just unstoppable. I think he scored 42 points that game.
Yep.
That shot, we couldn't have played better defense.
Well,
So I just remember sitting there, just being like, "What more could we have done?" I felt numb.
yeah. So mind you, I'm gonna bring in a little bit of Eagle stuff, but this happened just a few months after Alshon dropped it.
Yeah,
So I remember I still had a little bit of a hanger from that because for that game, I was laying on my living room floor and I was kind of just actually sitting there, and what happened? I just laid down flat on my back and I just stared at my ceiling for an hour, just
yeah.
you know
I said,
thinking about what it could have been because for the Eagles, they probably would have went back to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Back to Sixers. A few months later, the Kawhi shot happens. Um, that was, I mean, I felt like that was our year. That
yeah,
Jimmy Butler trade,
mhm,
that's another one of my favorite memories. Is that Jimmy Butler trade? I was at Franklin Mills Mall, um, and I was with some friends, and then I get the notification, and they're not basketball fans, and and I just started like sprinting around the mall, and I try and find any Sixers fans, and I'm like, "Yo, we just got Jimmy Butler! We just got Jimmy Butler! Oh my god!" Yeah, just going insane. And my friends that are there, they're like, "James, what the hell's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Dude, you fucking kidding me? The
yeah,
Sixers just got Jimmy Butler." Like,
yeah.
I mean, to that point, I think that was the biggest trade this any Philly sports team has really made in a while.
Mm,
Um, it was kind of, you know, but I mean, it was really, really exciting. But ultimately, the Kawhi shot for me, all that build up, that trade, all the excitement, seeing how good we were. Jimmy Butler hitting 2 game winners up to that point.
yeah,
It felt like we had everything put together, and then the Kawhi shot goes in. And I'm not gonna lie, that was the first game that like I cried. Like I cried after that game.
mm,
Like I went to bed. I, I shed a few tears after like you. I had numbness, and then like realizing what had happened and scrolling through Instagram that night, seeing it play over and over and over again. And even now, like it's one of the most insane plays of all time.
yeah. That's gonna be on every NBA highlight reel forever.
Yep. And just being reminded of that is just like I shed a few tears. I was in tremendous pain.
I've
Um,
maybe watched that full play only once or twice since. I
oh
didn't go on social media for 2 or 3 days after that, just because I didn't want to see it on my feed.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I straight up just never went on social media. I mean, I didn't go on Instagram. I
Yeah,
wouldn't go, I mean, Snapchat even. I mean, I did not want anything to do with anybody. I was like it had an effect on me, man.
it
It had
hurt.
an
It
effect.
hurt real bad.
Mhm.
I mean, not to go back to the Eagle stuff too much, but since you mentioned that Alshon drop, that one I cried after that. The Kawhi one, it hurt, but like it just like I said, I was numb. It was a really impressive performance by him. So the Alshon drop just hurt so much because it was a drop. Like we could have had it.
Mhm.
The Kawhi one, it just felt like that was like divine intervention. Like he was out of his mind that
But
series that
you have
year.
to remember on that play too. Joel was all over him. I mean, Joel's a big guy. I mean, he had his hand fully extended. I
Yeah,
mean, Joel did everything he can to get his ass over there.
yeah, he was shuffling his feet like a pro out there on the perimeter.
Yeah. And the worst part was I was still watching the game, just kind of staring there, like eyes clouded by tears a little bit. I just see, the classic clip of Joel Embiid just, crying to Gasol. and then walking off the court into the locker room just bawling,
Yeah.
and seeing Joel Embiid like that made everything so much worse
Yeah.
because Joel Embiid has heart. I mean, compared to the beginning of his career and then going into to that game, he's really matured. He really developed like a true passion, and like worked his balls off, man. And for that to happen to him, it's just really, really unfortunate.
But we thought it was our year too. That shows it, He was
Yeah,
devastated because
exactly.
our team just felt like the one.
Yep. Um, one more, probably one of my favorite memories. We actually listened to this game, Asher. We listened to this game together. It was in 2017. We played Oklahoma City, and the game went to third overtime.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
remember that game?
I do.
Yeah, I remember you and I don't know what we did that night, but we were both listening to it on the radio, and I think we ultimately lost that game.
We did.
But I just remember watching it on the radio, and it was one of the craziest things I had ever listened to on the radio as far as sports goes. I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't able to see it on TV, but
Yeah. Well,
I don't know what you remember from it. I remember, you know, what I remember was just the intensity over the radio and how crazy that game was, and I think that was one of the first games in a while that I felt like the Sixers were like really, really competitive because at the time the OKC was one of the better teams in the league.
Right, exactly. That's what
And
was so cool about that game because that was when we were first coming into contention
Mhm,
after those years of just being really awful.
mhm. Yeah.
We're
So
a little over what we thought we were going to, but we're taking a trip down memory lane. I have one more
okay.
that you kind of pop back into my head talking about those Jimmy Butler game winners. The the game against a couple games after we picked them up, the Charlotte Hornets.
I was at your house for that, dude.
Yep, Kemba Walker dropped 60 points,
Mm-hmm.
but then
Yep.
Butler saves it with that huge block and save.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next play goes down and hits that moving three. Just as pure elation. That might have been, if we're talking about one single in-game moment, not talking about off-season moves. I think that's got to be my favorite.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were both there. I think we were both going absolutely insane. I mean,
Yeah, I had a
we
lot
had
of
like
people over. I
yeah,
remember.
there was a bunch of people over. I think we had like a bunch. I think you had like 6 other people over.
Yeah,
Yeah, but oh my god, dude. Oh,
yeah,
that,
we went
that
to
I
that.
saw. I have a video of that on my Snapchat memories, and I always look at it every once in a while, and you know, it kind of it's like bittersweet to look at now because obviously Jimmy Butler's no longer a Sixer, but at the same time, it's like one of my favorite in-game moments of all time.
Yeah.
And one more thing, I mean, you can't really say this is a memory quite yet because it's so recent, but you can't not name the Joel buzzer beater. I know I kind of mentioned it when we were talking before the podcast. We weren't really going to talk about it, but how can you talk about great Sixers moments, your favorite Sixers moments, and not, refer to this past postseason against the Raptors?
Mhm.
And that kind of all goes together with that Kawhi shot, honestly.
Yeah, it felt like redemption a little bit.
Mhm. And seeing Joel make that buzzer beater. I mean, now it's the same game he injured his thumb, and he had the tape on and everything, and you're still dealing with the injury. But seeing him make it, I mean, I was in like multiple Sixers group chat. I mean, I was in a Sixers group chat on my Instagram with like 60 other people, and I remember it was just going absolutely insane. I joined the FaceTime afterwards. There were like 20 people on there, and I swear you couldn't even hear what everybody was saying because everybody was just screaming. But
Yeah.
what the hell had just happened? Uh, yeah, but it was
That
a
was
little bit of a trip down memory lane today.
yeah.
Some good, mostly good, some very traumatic. Um, but once again, make sure to click the link in our bio for the jersey mounts, 10% off and free shipping on your orders. Catch us on TikTok at 215 Scoop. We've got some nice content going out there. Any listeners that have followed us on there, appreciate it. We're up to 4,000 followers on there now. Instagram, listen down below, the 215 Scoop, and Twitter, 215 Scoop PSM. Make sure you subscribe, click that notification bell. And thank you guys for tuning in once again.
See you guys.